Hello and welcome to Love Anything Art. Today I'll show you how I made this pendant. You want to start with some black clay. You can use any brand that you want. You'll just cut off a decent sized piece. I'm going to run it through my pasta machine, but first I want to make sure I have it flattened pretty good so that it rolls through there nicely. I have rolled it through the pasta machine and it's about that thick. You can actually make it as thick as you would like. This will be the backing for the pendant. Then I'm going to place it on a piece of paper and then just give it a nice light burnishing. It's kind of warm in my room, so I'm leaving a little bit of fingerprints on my clay. So I'm just trying to get rid of those. You can set that aside for a few minutes. And we will work on the cutouts. For my cutouts, I'm going to just freehand draw it. Just making a light, rough sketch of it. If you are new to my channel, I just want to take a moment and welcome you. I am so glad that you are here for this video. And I hope that you will subscribe and come back for some more content. And to all of my returning subscribers, I missed you. Welcome back. I'm going to make a second one right beside the first one. The second one will be larger. These are the two shapes that I've come up with. Just want to cut those out. And this is them, and this is how they will lay. Just take your black clay that you rolled out a moment ago. You'll put your cutout pieces on there. Be sure to place them as close to the one edge as possible because we're going to use the second part of the clay that we'll cut away in a minute for an additional piece for this pendant. And then cut out as best you can the shape. You can always use your fingers and blend out the edges and also sand it when you are done so it doesn't have to be terribly perfect. And this is the piece, just set that aside, we will use it in a moment. I've placed this on the bottom of a baking dish. I'm just using my fingers to smooth out all of the edges, get rid of fingerprints, and just kind of smooth out the edges of it. And with the templates I cut out a moment ago, I will take those and place them on a piece of paper. And outline the shape of each of those. You can set those aside. And then you'll just want to make a smaller version of the larger version inside. This will be the piece that is going to set on top of the larger version. So I'm just kind of sketching out a smaller size of the bigger size. And then just cut that out. And we will use the rest of that black clay and cut out the same way we did the first ones. And this time we will cut out the smaller sized shape. You can place those on the piece of paper. Next, for a beautiful pastel looking Skinner blend, I've chosen these 3 colors. Thought they looked really good together and they'll make a beautiful rainbow color pattern. Just cut off a small section of each of those colors. You can use any colors that you want. Just make sure they look kind of good together. With each of those pieces, I will just begin working and conditioning the clay a little bit, and then rolling it into a even-sized ball. I'll cut that in half as best I can. It does not have to be perfect. That's what I love about this project, y'all. Roll each of those into a ball, and then with your finger, press down on one side and roll so that it comes to a point. So you have a nice little teardrop shape. And I actually just love this color. Let me know what you think and what colors you choose for your project. Now that I've rolled out each of my little teardrops, I will place them together, going pink, blue, purple, and then pink, blue, purple. So it will be a repeating pattern. Use your fingers and gently start pressing it down and into place just to kind of flatten it a little bit. This will join the edges together, and also flip it over and kind of do the same thing to the other side before taking a roller and giving it a couple of rolls. You want to make it pretty thin so that it fits through the pasta machine. Or if you want to do this by hand, you can too. But in this demonstration, I will show you how I did it through my pasta machine. It already looks so cute. I love those colors. It's about this thick, and that will fit through my pasta machine one time very nicely. I'll take the pasta machine and place it on the thickest setting, and then run my clay through there. This will give it a nice, flat, even consistency. And you'll notice that I did have a little bit of smudgy dirt on there. It is time to clean out your pasta machine, girl. What are you doing? But it's okay. Just keep folding it in half and placing it through the pasta machine. It actually got rid of all those little smudges. But I do need to clean it out. I still haven't yet, as of the recording of this. But I will get to it. Girls gotta make some clay, you know. But you just want to keep going and going until you have a nice ribbon pattern. You can blend your colors as much or as little as you want. Totally up to you. I do want a nice even flow. Once I have it to the color pattern I like, I will begin rolling it out and flattening it. And I am taking my time to do this. You can also use your fingers to kind of stretch it out a little bit. But just take your time and continue rolling it so that it's nice and flat. You could also do that through the pasta machine if you have one. I just didn't want it to get all wobbly like it can sometimes through the pasta machine. Oh, scraps, save those. You're gonna need those one day. I love scrap projects. Cut off a couple of strips. Try to make them as even in width as possible. To start, I will take 2 of those, place them together end to end. I just want to join the 2 ends together and just kind of smooth out that seam. And you want to make sure that you also flip over the piece and kind of flatten it a little bit from the other side. Just using my tissue blade to even up those edges. And I'll set that aside for a moment. And then I'm going to go back to my 2 large cutouts that I have baked. And you'll see that it does look pretty rough and rugged. So I will be taking some sandpaper, smoothing out that back side because it has a little bit of a sheen to it from sitting on that metal surface in the oven. I do want the edges to be pretty smooth and rounded. I have sanded the front, the back, and the sides of both of my large pieces. And they're looking good. Now those are the 2 large pieces. They are nice and baked. And these are the 2 small pieces. They are not baked yet. This one I actually have already done. I covered it in some makeup powders. As you'll see, it's kind of got like a metallic, kind of a grayish tint to it. And I'll show you what I did and do that with the second one in a moment. But I did cut this one down just a little bit more, made it the perfect size and where I wanted it to sit inside of the larger one. You want to have a nice thick ring around the outside so you can see the beautiful black clay coming through behind the top clay. So I just placed the smaller one on top of the larger one, kind of eyeballed it a little bit to see how much I want it to cut off. Then I will just start shaving off a little bit. And remember that you can always take off more, but you can't put more back on. So you'll want to make sure not to take off too much at a time and just keep putting it back on the larger piece and eyeballing it, like I will do in just a moment. This will also help trim up those messy ends from using the cutter to cut it out. And I actually did a really good job the first time around and made it pretty much the same size that I wanted it to be. So yay me. But if you find that it's still too large and not setting where you want, just go ahead and cut off a little bit more. I'm going to take the ribbon that I joined together just a moment ago and start making a scrunched up, swirly kind of a design. You want to start your corner just a little bit, kind of make it small, and fold it back. And you'll just kind of keep doing the accordion style fold. When placing it on the black clay, you do want to make sure that you can still see the black clay all around the rim of your little swirl pattern. So when placing it on there and kind of folding it up, just make your fold not quite as wide as your black strip of clay, as you'll see here as I'm going along. It'll be smaller than the black clay. So just kind of keep folding it up accordion style each layer will get slightly larger than the previous one until it gets to the widest point, and then it'll start going back and each fold will be smaller than the previous one. If you feel that you need more clay, you can just keep joining pieces together like I showed you just a minute ago, and then continue folding until you have your little accordion style fold as long as you want it. Then you'll just cut off any extra and then fold your little swirlies one last final time with an itty bitty little fold. And I did leave a ring or marks all over the black clay, but I actually kind of like the way it looks. And you're going to put the piece right back on there, so it should cover it up, but you can always buff that out after you bake it. But for me, I'm going to take some powders. These are just old makeup powders, so you can use mica powders or whatever you have, and smooth it all over the surface of the top, the back, and the sides, and it pretty much covers up any imperfections or marks left by the clay. And there you go. That's the front and that's the back. And it's all nice and smooth. I will place the unbaked pieces back on my baking pan and place those in the oven and bake them. Bake them for about 40 minutes. You want them to be nice and sturdy. Into the oven we go. Bye. Now that my pieces are baked, it is time to assemble, folks. I have chosen these 3 tiny little beads that are beautiful, and I like the way it looks with my other clay colors. And they kept running away on me, so while I gather those up, I'm going to take a stick pin and I will put it through each of those beads. This will be the connecting piece to the pendant. Make sure that it doesn't go from one side of the black clay all the way to the other. You do want it to stop about halfway through each of the black pieces of clay so that we can put the smaller pieces on there and cover it up. Okay, I'm going to put 1 coat on all sides of the large piece of black clay, front, back, and sides, to both of the large pieces. Okay, I have put a layer of resin on there. Now it's time to put a bead on my little stick pin and kind of place it like a bridge between the 2 pieces of black clay. I've done that with all 3 of my beads. Now, time to put some resin. I will do one side at a time. So I'm just going to put a nice thick coating of resin over the top, being sure to cover those sticks really, really well. And if you want to get your clay to hold still while you move around that resin, just take a toothpick and hold it down, and then just use your little paintbrush and move around your resin. And you can always fix those stick pins because the bottom one is not straight at the moment, but I will make it straight before I cure the resin. Now it's time for the other side. I'll do the same thing I did with the first side. Once it's resined, but not cured, I'll go ahead and press them together so that there is no gaps and you can't see that little piece of metal. And then go ahead and cure it. And this is the piece cured. Nice and smooth, and the little beads still move around. Now it's time to put a coating of resin on the back. For the smaller pieces that I covered in makeup powders, I will need to resin both of those, front, back, and sides. And then for your little swirly pattern, you'll want to put a little resin on the back side and then attach it to your piece. And then you can cure that under the light, or if you want to use the natural, beautiful sunlight. There we go. It's nice and resined. Now I'm going to place a little bit of resin on the back of that piece. And this will stick to the black clay. And again, I'll just put resin on there, place it on my black piece, and then cure it. Be sure to cover up those stick pins. You don't want those to show through and mess up your beautiful pendant. And for a final coating on the top of my little swirlies, accordion folder thingies, I'm going to put a nice thin layer of resin and give it a cure. One more time, folks. Okay, I'm going to put a little jump ring in the top corner. I'm going to use my little drill that I have. I'll start with a smaller size, and then I will put in a bigger size and make the hole slightly bigger. Starting with the smaller drill size, I'll drill through all the way to the back. Then I will switch out and place the larger one in there. And this is so that the jump ring will fit through. And I'm going to work my way from the back to the front this time. And I'm going to place in a jump ring. Now, I wish I had a larger jump ring, but this was the only size I had in this color, and I wanted to use this rose gold colored jump ring. So, it took me a few minutes to get that little bad boy through that hole. I hope you don't have that problem. But once I was done, I did put a little necklace on it, and it is done. I really like the way this turned out. Thought it was kind of wild and funky and fresh, and I hope that you enjoy it and you come up with your own and use your own colors. But you know what? As always, I so appreciate you watching my videos, and I can't wait to see you next time. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!